discussion and practice on stretching, especially our hamstrings. It's quite common for people to come to yoga initially and the first thing they say is, I really want to be able to touch my toes. I'm not bendy and I have short hamstrings. And of course yoga is very good at stretching, but what is a stretch? How far should you personally be taking that stretch? Now, a lot of the practice that we do will involve stretching your legs, your arms, your back, in fact your whole body. But how far we can take that really will depend on you. And the you is how you have been created. It probably isn't your connective tissue or your muscles or even the way that you use your body. It may be in your joints, other mobility issues, and perhaps just the way that you live and you've been working that body. So I'd like you to think that one of the most effective ways of increasing your mobility is to practice regularly. And there's plenty of supportive evidence to say that stretching for a very long time is not as effective as stretching for shorter times, but more often, maybe 5 times a week, and it really doesn't take very long. So I'm going to ask you first of all if you'd like to join me just in a very short practice. And in yoga, another point that people sometimes say is, I cannot sit on the floor comfortably in a cross-legged position. But that really hasn't got an awful lot to do with being flexible. It's more the mobility in your hip joints, and certainly over a period of time you'll find small changes and gradually you may be able to adjust your position, and if you really want to sit in this position, like me, to start to use a cushion or a bolster and keep yourself a little bit higher, which is a lot more comfortable. Or sit with the legs out in front of you, or even pop something underneath your knees, and you can give those legs a little stretch. So I'm not trying to place my knees on the mat, I've still got my hips slightly higher, but I am just pushing a little bit deeper into my thighs, which is going to contract my muscles and start to lengthen those legs. So again, just easy. This could be something that you could do in your own time, maybe bending, stretching, just seeing if you can find that relationship with those legs. Heels pushing away, stretching and lengthening the back, and again, often rather than longer. So we're going to take that onto the mat now. We're going to get rid of that support. And again, all we're going to do is make sure that we feel supported and comfortable, and just stretch one leg. Okay, so I'm just finding the connection into my toes, and I'm going to push deeper into the heel, but I'm going to draw my ribs and my head forward so the whole body is connected. And although the stretch is going through the body, I can adjust that. So if I push deeper into my heel, slightly bring my thigh into connection. I can feel that in my calf. I can lift my hip, I can draw forward, really getting a long stretch in the back of that leg. And if you look at this side, you may see that as I turn my toes under and push deeper into the heel, my hip is coming back. So I can just draw that forward a little bit so I can feel that stretch all through the leg. And I'd say in nearly all the poses initially that you start to practice, just play around with them, get to know your own body, which muscles you can feel. You'll be lengthening connective tissues, so be patient. And keep that breath connected, so exhaling, drawing that stretch all through the body. Bringing the knees down. I'm just going to release that. And now we're going to go into our downward dog. So there are props that you can use for downward dog. I would say don't just think of it as a way of stretching your legs. This is just a sort of slice. Okay, so I'm going to just bring myself up and lengthen my back. Make sure that my hands and my arms are lengthening and comfortable. And keep on those toes for a moment. So I'm starting to get a stretch, a connection, keeping my hips up. Okay, now I can just let the heels down. What happens often there is that the heels go down and this happens. So yes, I can feel a stretch, especially in my calves. But I've sort of taken that out of that all over connection through the body. So I could just place my foot, push down a little bit into the heels, and that really does feel quite nice and comfortable. So I can just draw down into those heels, strengthen the legs a little bit, bend one knee. We don't need to do too much of this really fast, just feel that when I push down into this left heel and then into the right and then back again. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit more help with gravity now to lengthen those legs. Drawing yourself forward, just start to walk the feet towards the hands. They may not get all the way, so we'll walk the hands back towards the feet. Now this is where you may find a block is helpful. Okay, so I'm just getting a little bit more height on my fingertips. Could be right up here. So what we're focusing on is lengthening those legs. So we might be up here, but even that's pretty good, because if I lengthen my legs and just a little bit of softness in the knees, I'm going to let my upper body, okay, might be right up here or even higher. Give it time. Even keep coming up on your toes so that you're going forward, and gradually gravity, our best friend for these stretches, will start to take us towards the earth. So it might be up here. Try not to lean too much into your support, because that might just bring your shoulders up. And even bending the knees more over a period of time, just dropping down deeper onto our fingertips. Or maybe we could bring ourselves onto our mat. So bringing the shoulders away, I'm sort of pulling that mat towards me. Okay, again we might have our knees soft, and I'm just bringing my pelvis further forward, because if I'm back away from my heels, I'm really not going to get much lengthening in the back of the legs. If you do start to get any pain or discomfort just in those sitting bones, top of your thighs, soften your knees, let yourself go back a little bit more, take it slowly. Okay, so now I've got length through the spine. I'm lifting my thighs, drawing my navel up. I'm going to let it all go now, so you might want to bend your knees here. Take hold of your elbows. Get a bit more weight here, so I'm going to drop down deeper. Maybe bringing the hands wherever you can reach or onto the floor. I'm pushing deeper into my hands, or they may still be on your support. Okay, and we can take that back into our downward dog. ourselves down. Full breath. And come back into a seated position. So our seated stretches are really helpful. And again, we might just take advantage of a bit of support. So I could do two things with this. A rolled mat is pretty useful. I could just pop that underneath my knees. And again, I'm just going to stretch my legs. So it's that little combination between making yourself comfortable, practicing often, finding new ways of working with your body. You could pop that under your heels. Okay, I wouldn't work too much on your knees, but again, getting stretch through my spine, gently stretching out the legs, and then bringing myself back into my seated position. So if you are sitting cross-legged, of course we're starting to get a bit more mobility in those sitting bones. Often it's quite useful to just pop this little block cushion underneath, and as that mobility increases, and my goal is really not to do anything to my knees, but just start to loosen up a little bit more in the hips and lengthen my spine. So as always, coming back to our centre, lie down if you have a few more moments, pop something under your knees and rest those legs.